Hello, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can use the integration between Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps and Microsoft Defender for Endpoint to restrict access to generative AI web apps. Now, generative AI web apps is the category that I'm using in this example. However, as you'll see as I go through the video, this can be extended to a bunch of other web apps as well that might be called kind of shadow IT. So before we begin, there's a couple of prerequisites that we need to make sure are in place. The first one being is we need to make sure that devices have been onboarded to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Once they've been onboarded, we also need to configure Defender for Endpoint so that real-time protection is enabled, cloud delivered protection is enabled, and network protection is enabled and configured to block mode. So depending on how you manage your devices, you need to make sure that those configurations have been put in place before we proceed. Once you've confirmed that that your devices are onboarded and those configurations are in place, you then want to come to the Microsoft Defender portal, and we're going to enable some of the settings that we need for this. So if we expand the system option on the left-hand navigation and go to settings, we're then going to select endpoints. And we want to make sure that we've got advanced features selected, and then we're looking for the custom network indicators. We want to make sure that that one's turned on, and we want to make sure that we've turned on Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. And we'll click Save Preferences there. Once those have all been enabled, we'll go back to settings again. We're then going to select Cloud Apps, and we're looking for the Microsoft Defender option, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint option. And then what we want to do here is we want to select Enforce App Access. And you'll notice that we've got some other options below here. So we've got the notification URL, enter the redirect URL for warned users. So by default out of the box, there's kind of like a visit support page when you restrict access to one of the web apps that we choose. The information that you get provided is fairly generic and it's not really tailored to your organization. So what I would recommend doing here is potentially preparing some custom pages that you can put in there that provide a bit more information. And especially if you've got something that is a sanctioned AI tool for your organization, it's probably worth in the page there pointing people in the direction of that and encouraging them to use that so that they're not lost. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the one for the warned users, which is the monitored app, which we'll come to a little bit shortly, and I'm also going to select this unsanctioned app as well and put that in for the blocked URL. Now the bypass duration, this is used for when users are kind of warned. So the warned setting that we'll use allows users to bypass the restriction that you put in place. Typically that by default is a fairly limited window. However, you can extend this. So within here, we can kind of change that to from 1 to 999 hours. So if you do want to extend that, and I'll highlight that when we go through the user experience as well. But for now, I'm just going to click save on there and I'm going to click yes. Okay, so now that that's done, we're then going to go to Cloud Apps and Cloud App Catalog, and this is where we're going to look for the Gen AI apps that we potentially want to restrict. So as you can see here, there's over 37,000 items, so there's a long list of web apps that Microsoft have kind of found here. So if we go to category and we go to generative AI and select that, this is then going to just filter it down slightly, and we can see that there's some kind of common generative AI apps that we can see there. So for now, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to select this Google Gemini option. And what you'll notice is at the top now, we have a few different options that become available as we select that. So the first option is sanction. And essentially what we're saying here is this is an app that as an organization, we have chosen to allow. We've evaluated it and it's something that, we see as fit for business purpose. It meets with our compliance standards and we're going to allow users to use that without any issue. Next to it, you can see we've got unsanctioned, which is pretty much the opposite of that. So we're going to be saying, okay, this is an application that we absolutely do not want people using, and we're going to select unsanctioned, and that's essentially going to block that application. So for Google Gemini, that's what I'm going to do in this instance. So I'm going to select unsanctioned, and I am going to select save here. If you wanted to potentially use a profile for this, so if you were limiting it to maybe a set of users or something like that, you could do. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to click save. And what I'm now going to look for is, I'm just going to look for ChatGPT as example. And for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click this tag app option. And you'll notice that we've got a third option here, which is monitored. And that's kind of what I touched on before, where essentially we're going to restrict access, but allow the user to kind of bypass it. So that will make a bit more sense when I actually show you what it looks like. But for now, I'm going to select monitored there, and we are going to click save again. And lastly, what I'm going to do, I am just going to find another application that I want to whitelist. So if I go to Claude, for example, what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to sanction that application so that we can access it. So I'm just going to need to allow some time for that to kind of sink in across to the end user device. Once that's done that, I'll then show you what that looks like from their perspective. Okay, so time has passed and I'm now on an end user device. I'm going to open up Edge and I'm going to browse to Google Gemini. And as we can see, we get that block notification. So the website is blocked by your organization. As we can see on this page, we get limited information, but if we click this visit the support page option, it's going to take us to that custom page that we specified and provide a bit more context here. So this will give you an example of what you can do with those custom URLs to make it a bit more intuitive for your users and kind of give a better explanation as to why they're being restricted from accessing certain applications. And if I just open up ChatGPT in the other one, so here we can see that we've again, the website's been blocked. We've got the ability to click the visit the support page here, which that's just errored at the moment, but yeah, let's try that again. We can see that it's a slightly different page because it's a monitored app. And most importantly, we'll notice that we've actually got this allow option. So if I click allow there, you'll notice that I'm then able to actually access that application. And that bypass option that we saw determines how long before I'm prompted to kind of allow the application again. So really, really useful for us to be able to restrict access to the generative AI apps that are unsanctioned within our organization, as well as some that may require, some conscious effort just to make sure that if people are using it, they're doing so carefully. And if I open Claude here, for example, we'll notice that I'm able to access that straight away because that's a sanctioned application. One thing I would note is from my experience of using this in the field, I've noticed sometimes that if people have the desktop versions of these applications and they previously signed in before you put these restrictions in place, sometimes they'll be able to still use the application. So that's just something to bear in mind. Ideally, you want to have something in place that is restricting people from installing the desktop versions of these applications as well, and making sure that people are only installing sanctioned generative AI applications, as well as all other applications as well. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give this video a like, consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.